Okay, welcome everybody. This afternoon I'd like to talk about how to be positive, give some instructions on how to be positive. And so I think it's important to start by clarifying how important it is to be positive, because whether or not we're able to lead a problem-free and happy life depends entirely upon our ability to be positive. So it's an important topic. We've really got to try and nail this if we are to succeed in leading a happy life, a life that's free from problems. Now, the reason why it's essential that we develop a positive mind is because life is getting more difficult. Externally, conventionally, if you like, everything around us is becoming more degenerate. Although there are a lot more time-saving devices and things that should be reducing our problems, if you check, you'll find that actually our problems are increasing. Our difficulties are increasing. There are more things to worry about now than there has ever been before, such as whether or not someone has left you a message on your Facebook. These sort of problems didn't exist before. For example, what we've seen recently introduced, well, in Australia, maybe they've been around for a long time, but certainly recently in Australia, are these Android phones. Have you heard of these Android phones and iPhones? So I've got one of these. Yeah. And before I had one, I used to check my emails, that old-fashioned technology, email. And it is old-fashioned technology. Even my own family, my sisters, they say, well, we don't use email anymore, come on. But of course, we're part of the modern age. This is, modern Buddhism. We need to know what's happening in society. We need to try and use modern inventions to help us to flourish, Dharma to help people to be happy. However, before I was the owner of an Android phone, my life was much more peaceful than it is now. I'd set aside, say, an hour in the morning for checking emails and stuff like this. And then I would address all the emails, reply to the emails, and then I'd just go about my business, whether it be distributing some flyers or teaching or doing some work, and much more peacefully. But then I'm on a plan, and the time came for a renewal of the phone. And I got one of these Android phones, and I thought, this is brilliant. This is going to solve a lot of problems, So immediately I set up my Gmail, because there's a little icon for Gmail. Put all my Gmail details in there, and then I set up my RT email, the center email in there. You can do all sorts of things. And then before long, I found my life getting more difficult, because the thing would just beep and vibrate and buzz and bounce and all day long. So this sort of time-saving, problem-reducing device actually started to make my life more complicated and difficult. So how did I respond to it? The way I should have responded to it is by turning the whole lot off. But the way I actually responded to it was to try and do things quicker, with a slightly more tense mind. Of course, at the moment it's switched off, and I'm much happier. So in the world that we live in, everything is geared up towards, if you check carefully, to the experience of more difficulties. Every new invention seems to invite further difficulties. But I'm not just going to talk about modern inventions. Life in general is difficult. Like normal life is difficult. I think I said earlier that one of the problems we face is just simply waking up in the morning when the alarm goes off. It's the first difficulty of the day. Now, if we can't learn to develop a peaceful, positive mind in the face of these so-called difficulties, what kind of life have we got before us? What kind of life are we going to have? Because they're not going to get these difficulties are not going to dissolve, are they? They're not going to disappear. We know that as we continue through the journey of our life, more problems are going to come, regardless as to whether or not you've got an Android phone. Life is going to get difficult. You know? You could avoid, like my parents, you can avoid technology, but it won't make your life any more peaceful and happy. Because we're kind of geared up, this body and everything we bring into this life is kind of geared up to cause us difficulties, problems. It's one of the functions of our close family as well, isn't it? To give us difficulties and problems. So in modern Buddhism, our founder, Geshe Kelsang, Venerable Geshe Kelsang Gyatso, he's identified this, fortunately, for the people of this world. And on the preface, the first page of actual text, he says, if we were to respond to difficult situations with a positive or peaceful mind, they would not be problems for us. Now, I explained before, he's not saying if we learn how to be more patient, those inherently difficult people will be less of a problem for us. He's not saying if we were a little bit more peaceful, the problems of the difficulties in life would be less hard to cope with. He's saying they wouldn't be there anymore. That's what he's saying. I mean, he's indicating something which I'm going to come to. I think he's indicating something. Problems arise, he goes on to say, only if we respond to difficulties with a negative state of mind. So just to sort of summarize where we're up to so far, we have a life that invites difficulties. That's what part of being human is. From the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed, and then when we're dreaming about probably Facebook or Android phone, difficulties are coming. But whether they are problems or not, whether our quality of life is affected or not, depends entirely upon whether we're responding with a peaceful, positive mind or a negative mind. Conclusion, we need to be positive. We need to develop a positive mind. How will we achieve this positive mind? Firstly, we have to believe what Buddha says when he says everyone can develop a positive mind. We have to believe that we can do it, that we can develop a positive mind. And not think, I could develop a positive mind if, you know this, I'll be happy when mind. You know, I'll be happy when I get this new release of the iPhone, which I don't know what version it's up to now. I'll be happy when I can get some internet access, because my inbox is going to be full. There'll be people out there in Facebook world who are worried about me because I haven't updated my status for at least 13 minutes. Sometimes I wonder, do people really care? I don't know, or do they just want you to look at their photos? It seems like there's this whole online thing where people think everybody else cares about them. That's like a kind of creator of more problems, isn't it? Hopefully I'll upload all these images and I should receive a lot of comments on how interesting, exciting and fascinating my photos and my life actually are. And maybe just the ones who feel obliged and under duty respond to them, don't they, with a quick, very nice, nice pic. Because to actually write real words is going to take far too long, isn't it? So, this has got to go. This I'll be happy when mind. Why? Because our ability to be positive depends upon understanding our mental processes. Okay? Developing our wisdom, trying to learn a little bit more about what's going on in our mind. Okay? So this is the first point. We've got to start now. All of us can do it, and we start now. How do we get started? Second point. We begin to observe how our mind responds to the so-called difficulties. This is the first point. We've got to just start to have a look at what's going on. So try it out tomorrow morning. When your alarm goes off tomorrow morning, okay, observe how you immediately feel. How do you feel? Anything strange happening? Any strange feeling? Are you happy? Are you one of these morning people, these rare morning people? Or do you think, as you start to ascend the various blissful levels of consciousness, do you become increasingly unhappy until you suddenly remember me and all my problems and how wonderful it was when I was in deep slumber, and have I got any milk? And so on and so forth. I think, well, hang on. This is a difficulty. Facing the morning is a difficulty. How am I responding to this difficulty? Unpleasant feeling. There's an unpleasant feeling arising. That's my problem. Okay, so this is wisdom. This is the beginning of wisdom. Now, the next thing we need to do in our journey to being positive all the time is to realize it had nothing to do with the alarm going off. It had nothing to do with there being only soy milk and not cow's milk available. It had nothing to do with any disturbing people or difficult people in our life. It didn't have anything to do with it. My problem was this feeling that came up. And we think, now in the process of paying attention to what's occurring in our mind, we're developing a bit of space between the so-called cause of our problem and the actual experience. We're beginning to think, hey, maybe it's not my alarm. Maybe it's not this person, my job, and so on. Maybe it's in my mind. In How to Solve Our Human Problems, Geshe Kelsang says, the most these external things can do, not in some cases, the most external things can do is trigger the potential we already have to develop unpleasant feelings. That's all they can do. He also says that in the process of observing this, we start to gain some control over our mind, just observing. We start to realize, hang on, this isn't the end of the world. This is just a feeling. It'll come and it'll go, like a wave on the seafront. Sometimes it ebbs, Sometimes it flows. Is that right? Ebbs and flows. Is that right? Sometimes the feeling arises, and sometimes it just returns back to the vast space of my mind, doing no damage whatsoever. In fact, if you tried to look for it, you wouldn't find it anyway. It's like an illusion. In the process of observing this illusion-like feeling within the mind, whilst forgetting a little bit about what we thought was the problem, sort of temporarily, we come to know this inner peace. Again, Venerable Geshe says that by observing in this way, we start to develop some special insights and positive qualities. By accepting in this way, observing and accepting these feelings in this way, we develop special insights and positive qualities. We start to think, I'm in control of my mind. As a result, we can become fearless. You know, in the beginning, we're just accepting the alarm going off, aren't we? And the annoying person next door, or whatever. But if we get into the swing of this, there will be nothing that can damage our inner peace, positive state of mind, happiness. We'll become so good at observing what our mind's doing and controlling our feelings, we'll become free. We would be able to live a fearless life, anxiety-free life, in the knowledge that there is nothing that can really damage our happiness. Of course, it's going to take some time. But we can start this today, can't we? Gain this confidence. What happens? We start to look around at the things in our world in a whole new way. We think, is that a bad thing? Or is it a good thing? Again, Geshe describes the mind that's able to accept this way as being as stable as a mountain and as calm as the depths of an ocean. If it took a difficult person to get that experience of mind, then we have to appreciate that they came into our life. If the mind of acceptance is as stable as a mountain and as calm as the depths of an ocean, then I say we need something to accept. We need something to show us what's happening in our mind so that we can be free, fearless, and without anxiety. So now we've got the basis of being able to transform anything into that which makes us happy. Anything. Of course, in the beginning we're learning, and I only have a few minutes. But you can see that what we have now are the beginnings of a dynamic and enjoyable and powerful spiritual life, spiritual path that will lead us to everlasting happiness. That's something to be positive about, isn't it? Imagine waking up thinking, today there will be nothing that has the power to damage my peace and happiness. It will be a good day. It opens the door to so much, We begin to think, well, you know what? Whatever is happening in my life, I can transform by changing my mind. In Universal Compassion, subtitle, Inspiring Solutions for Difficult Times, Geshe says, adverse conditions are mere imputations by conceptual minds that label them adverse. They do not exist inherently. Difficult person, conventionally difficult person, good thing or bad thing? Well, if we want a mind as stable as a mountain and as calm as the depths of an ocean, very good thing. When our understanding of this becomes firm, the difficulties we meet will no longer cause anxiety and frustration, or interrupt our practice, our spiritual practice. For example, suppose there are two people who suffer from the same disease. One transforms the affliction into a positive spiritual practice, while the other does not. As a result of his or her positive attitude, the former will remain calm and cheerful all the time, even when in severe pain, and this may even help him to recover from his sickness. But the latter will only become depressed and anxious, and this attitude may worsen his condition. Okay, so the basis of this ability to be able to transform everything that's occurring in our life is to realize that I need to think in ways that keep my mind at peace. You understand? Becoming an inner being like this. So just to summarize, how to be positive. 1, everybody can be positive because it's not about what we have or don't have. It's about understanding our mind. 2, what do we need to do? Increase our wisdom by observing the ebbing and flowing of our feelings when facing different situations in order to get some mental equilibrium, some space. And instead of becoming like a puppet on a string, we become more aware of what our mind is doing rather than what external things are doing. Then, don't panic if an unpleasant feeling comes. It's an illusion, we can't even find it. As a result of seeing this, it will rejoin the vast space of our mind. Our heart will fill with joy at how we solved our own problem. And then, and only then, if necessary, we can solve the external problem as well, if it still exists. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.